Good morning and welcome to Presence of Light with Charlie Riverman Bergeron. It's a joy once again to be here with you on this Friday morning here in the southwestern coast of Maine in the United States, and to share what comes up for me in my journey, and as this morning's talk will be what came up immediately before I awakened today. And so the title of my talk today is Awakening from Uncomfortableness. And it has a larger perspective for all of us these days during these times of spiritual awakening and awakening to concepts that have been hidden from us for thousands of years or rewritten in order that we couldn't really deepen our relationship with them. And also how we have layers of trauma that we're working through and releasing. So it was a really powerful awakening for me this morning. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, and it's not just this morning. It happens for us all the time. So as I see you arriving, I thank you for showing up and being present with me. My larger global family, thank you. I love you, and I really do respect each and every one of you. So Rachel, Margaret, good morning, Margaret, Shauna. Grateful for this day with all. Yes, this is gratitude is really important. And it was one of the first words that arrived for me this morning. I woke up at 7:11, and I woke up from what I would call a very disturbing dream. And it was a dream about my past and past experience with people that I worked with, and how they treated me, and how I felt somewhat abused in that dream. And I woke up and I just said, what is this all about? So the first thing I did was I always, tell you that I love to look at Joanne's Sacred Scribes for the numbers and angel numbers and what they mean. And you can take what you want from it. I find it's been a guide for me to kind of tap into the day from a different perspective, rather than just jumping into the day and saying, okay, I got to go to work, I got to do this. But it sort of sets a stage for me to say, what might my potential be for the day? So I always encourage people to pick up cards like the Kuan Yin cards here. This was today's card, or something that speaks to you and gives you kind of a different perspective of what the potential of the day might have for you. And you don't have to take it, full on as the word direct from spirit, but as a guideline. And I think in these days of awakening, greater awakening, we need these little helps and hints. This is what I do here with the Presence of Light show, is I give you hopefully helping hints to make you realize you're not alone in this process, that each of us are coming to some revelations within ourselves that are very uncomfortable. And how do we release them, and how do we move beyond them so that we can embrace a greater experience of being these beautiful spiritual beings in this human physical body? So the 711 number from Joanne's Sacred Scribes, I'll read, I didn't write all of it, but the highlight of it is, you are reminded also that the emotion of gratitude will speed the process of your manifestations. So as somebody mentioned this morning, gratitude. So remember to acknowledge and be grateful for all the blessings entering your life. And sometimes when we're in the chaos, we don't think about our blessings. We're focusing on the chaos. First thing in the morning, I wake up, I open my eyes, I say, thank you, I'm here. I'm grateful to be here. No matter what my day is going to bring me, I'm alive. I'm here. I'm in this body, and I want to embrace life in the fullest. So the angel number 711 also encourages you to maintain a positive attitude towards life and your life's happenings. Keep up your prayers, your visualizations, and positive affirmations. It's a powerful spiritual message from the angelic and spiritual realms. Pay special attention to your thoughts and ideas as they are revealing the answers to your prayers and are giving you intuitive guidance in regards to the next steps of your divine life path. So that's what I woke up to call on, because what I awoke from, hello from Port Pierce. I'm so glad that this is scrolling today. Thank you. What does the sign say right under the picture? Oh, I don't know what you're referring to. If it was the Kuan Yin picture, it's this one was 8 Immortals. That wasn't today's card, but it's I will get to that in the end. So what I awoke up to, and I actually had to grab my phone and in the notepad write these words down so I wouldn't forget, because I have a great capacity to forget my dreams very shortly after I awaken. Many of you can remember them, and I love the fact that you can. That's not in my vocabulary or my pathway. So what I woke up with was old anger, expectations, belittlement, trying to please others. I'll say them again. Old anger, expectations, belittlement, and trying to please others. Now, if that's not a message of saying, hello, Charlie, you got some work to do, I don't know what is. When I get these messages, what I want to share with people is I don't go into fight or flight or poor me. I look at it as an opportunity to dive deeper into these things. What I want to do is to release ourselves from all of this bondage that we have that we're not consciously aware of. This is part of our awakening, and it's supposed to happen. We have to move through this. And the only way to move through it is to move through it willingly. Because if we go screaming and kicking like little children, we're only going to create more emotional abuse, but then we become our own abusers. So that was what the grand picture came out to be, was emotional abuse, and how in my life I've been emotionally abused, and so has every other being on this planet, including those of you that I'm speaking to. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Where do we go from here? If this is part of our awakening, how do we get rid of this? How do we move through this? And each one of us being unique, we have to look and say, I don't know how in this moment, but I know that I can do this because I am really an amazingly powerful being. And if I am that powerful being, then I can manifest everything I need to be who I fully am. This is the encouragement. So as I wrote my notes this morning, I got, perhaps we should start with perception. And the perception of things brought me back to childhood, and a conversation that I have with a lot of people privately when I do private counseling is to go back to the childhood, go back into our childhood where we were really precognitive. We were dependent on our parents and those around us to take care of us and to teach us. But they had so much baggage that they weren't consciously aware of, that they played out their roles. And we, not having the ability as little small infants to use our mental abilities to discern what's right or what's wrong, we took a lot of that and energetically started to store it in our cellular structure. Okay? And as we did that, we have built up a field of energy that is really toxic, really negative, and really toxic. And it's funny how this talk is going, because I have my notes and I'm just veering completely away from the notes. And you can read them in my blog later. I'm going to go with what I'm being guided to say here. And that is, when we were younger, as children, we didn't have the ability to really discern or to gather information and put it in a conscious contact within our brain, because our brain wasn't that developed. Yet we were spiritually existing in this human body. We came into this body in our mother's womb. And even while in the womb, we were receiving energies from outside the womb, things that our mother was involved with, our mother's fears, our mother's worries, or if our mother was being abused on some level psychologically or physically, that energy was entering us. And I say this because I know myself, I have memories of being in my mother's womb. And I have memories of the doctor saying that I was a tumor. And I have memories of my mother's energy going into fear and shock. Now, you say, how does that happen? It does, because we are on a level highly spiritual, consciously aware, but we're not aware on this physical human form. And this is what we grow. We come into this body, we're these beautiful divine beings, and then we're learning how to live in this third dimension in what we call life. And that's what we're talking about, gratitude. Let's have gratitude for life. Let's have gratitude for the fact that we can do this. This is amazing. We are so fortunate to be able to be here and go through this. And I know many of you are suffering. And I know many of you have pain, and I know it's both physical pain and it's emotional pain. But I want you to start looking at yourself not as this object of pain or object of suffering. I want you to look at yourselves as being this object of light and beauty. And know that these things are happening to you. And they are painful. But you are above and beyond all of it. So let's see what we got on the sideline going through this right now. Yes, this is part of the reason why I get the messages. It's because we're all going through this. It's not, the people who say they're the gurus or they're the wise men and women who have these messages and receive messages. We're all going through this as well. The difference is, whatever level we're on, we have a little more ability to make a little bit of sense about it, or to be a little more or less uncomfortable going through it. And it's our responsibility to speak the truth, our truth to you, to encourage you to say, wow, I can get through this. There is a way. There is a way. I may not be understanding of that right now, but there is a way through this. And then in turn, as you come to awareness within yourself of how you did it, you get to share that with others as well. And it doesn't matter if you're doing it to thousands of people on a social media, or you're doing it just to the people you love, or the people in the supermarket. It doesn't matter. We're all awakening. And this awakening is a glorious, glorious process. Painful, yes, painful on many human levels. But it's only because we have been stuffing all of this stuff into our physical genetic body. And it's also accompanied by our ancestral genetic predispositions. So we're also carrying the pain and suffering of our ancestors. And it doesn't matter whether you know what they are or not. Just know that this is part of our genetic lineage. So my next message was to take a look around at the world, and how is the world affecting us? What is it that we're in this world as these beautiful spiritual beings in these living bodies, and we're in a world. And there's things happening that are not in our control, right? So what is affecting us to make us this uncomfortable and or fearful? So I wrote, look at your news and media communications. Look at your country's leadership. Look at your industries, at your coworkers, at your family members. Look at all of that and realize that each of them are a source of some kind of emotional abuse or energy in motion that is abusive. I redefined it to us on some level. They may not be doing it intentionally, and this is the key. We take everything personally, but they may not be doing it for any more reason than their own suffering and their own entrapment in a cycle of thought and a cycle of perception that keeps them repeating the same things over and over and over and over again. And they're locked in this loop of self-abuse, really. And they're not aware of it. Many of us are trapped or appear to be trapped in this cycle of some sort of self-abuse. And that was the message that, that I came in with. The dream was about old anger, expectations, belittlement, and trying to please others. And when we look at that, we realize that, wow, how many years have we been doing this? And no wonder I'm tired. No wonder I feel the way I do. And you have to sit for a moment with that and say, wow, is there hope? Can I break out of this? Can I move through this? Is there something beyond this? And of course there is. Of course there is. We're not here just to be a lump on a chair or to just be a slave at a machine and do something. We're here to engage with life. This is, as I said in the beginning, we're here to embrace what we call life. This is a gift. And we chose this on a different level of our existence. And we came into this. And it's a tough process. It's not easy. Not everybody does this. So again, it's about coming back to old patterns and how we arrived at them. And most of the time, many of them were arrived at from a very innocent level in a time when our human mind could not rationalize or discern what was going on. And yet, as we learned and grew, and our sense of perception became more well attuned, then when something happened, it would trigger that memory. And what did we do with it? We stuffed it just like we did the one before. And we kept stuffing it. Well, my guides are saying the trash can's full, kid. Time to take out the garbage. Okay, so what do we do with it? Our first response is, well, I can't hide. I can't run away. I can't go be a hermit. And I'm sure we've all had that thought. So what can I do with this? How do I get through this? This is crazy. This is, I don't want to do all of this. Isn't there a simple way to get through this? Well, there is a simple way. And the simple way is to sit still. Sit still for a moment. And as I said to somebody the other day, whatever comes up in our minds that's disturbing or embracing old patterns that we're stuck in or can't release, I said, how about taking that and just physically putting your hands around your head and say, I'm going to take this and I want to put it out in front of me so I can see it. So you grab this energy that you think this thought form is, look at it, hold it in your hands. Now you have something, you can't see it, but you know what it is, and you've made it an object. Now you can look at this, not from within yourself and as a part of you, because it isn't a part of you. It's something you trapped in there. It's an object of energy that you trapped in there. Take it out, look at it, talk to it. Ask yourself, do I want to put this back in there? Or do I want to let it go? What do I need to do to let this go? Part of it is forgiveness. The Ho'oponopono prayer is a very good prayer. Just simply saying, I love you, I thank you, I respect you, goodbye. Let it go. What we're doing in that moment is releasing. And it may sound very silly or not enough because there's so much. But every time we do that, what we're doing really is respecting ourselves by saying, this does not serve me anymore. It never served me, but I didn't even know I had it. Now that I'm aware of what this is and it's coming up, sometimes it's being thrown up, let's get rid of it. Say goodbye. What we're doing is removing trapped energy. And it's the trapped energy that we've been stuffing unconsciously for years, since we were in the womb. Before we entered into physical form as a fetus or whatever the original connection and joint. I don't know where spirit enters form at what point, but I know it does. And I know from that moment on, we're working with the energy of the third dimension. And the energy of the third dimension is a duality. It's always going to be a duality. It's not going to change. It's not going to evolve out of that. That's the nature of it. That's the structure of it. But we as multidimensional beings are now, or have chosen, what is this experience in this duality? But we forgot that we're so much more. So that's what I awoke to was this fear, this memory, this dream of an old boss and people and my relationship with them. And I looked and I say, that's like ancient history. What's that all about? But it was to remind me and to remind all of us that we do the same thing in a different form every day of our lives until we let go of the energy that we have stored in our cellular structure. And I will tell you, it's stored in the marrow of your bones. And I was given a message a week ago, 2 weeks ago, to take to a person that I go to help assist me release and embody higher energies. And I said to her, the message of the day is remove the mold from the marrow. And so it became a visual for me to look at this energy inside my bones. I don't even know what my marrow looks like, but you can envision it. And it's got so much gunk and goo and guck in it that it's become moldy. And every time we have one of these thoughts that come up and we release, it's like flushing the bleach through and getting rid of some of that energy, because it may be just one little thought, but it's always attached to a greater whole of thoughts. And so we're going to have to clean and clean and clean and clean and clear and clear and clear by taking that energy out of our heads, putting it in front of us and trying to see it and ask ourselves, is this what I deserve? Is this what I want? I don't care how it got there. How it got there right now is not important. It's how am I going to get rid of this? So I pulled to wrap it up, I see I got a few more minutes. Mercury went direct. We can take out the garbage. Thank you. That's great. I love your sense of humor. I get too serious. Yeah. And we're characters in our dreams. Become socially accepting to bully others. Well, it's always been socially accepted, unfortunately. We're just becoming consciously aware of it. We've been bullying each other. If you look through your whole life, we've all been bullied. I mean, this is not new. If you look back to the ancient Roman times, they bullied each other. If you go back to the jungle, they bullied each other. The bullying is really just this concept of, I look at it as we have all of this frustration built up, and we just want to overpower somebody in order to release this energy. And if my concept is, if we get rid of this, there will be less bullying, because there'll be no need to bully. We won't be suffering at the level we are suffering from right now. Because for me, bullying, the bullies are suffering. They're suffering far deeper than I am as a victim, because my victimhood is not making me a bully, but their victimhood is. So thank you for that insight, and what came through is what came through right here, right now. So I had pulled a Kuan Yin card, which I held up earlier. It's not that one particular, but it was, it's the Kuan Yin Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. And it was number 43, Veil of Shadows. And I'll just read this to you. Your soul lotus is blossoming. A lotus blossoms with deep, rich mud into which she plunges her roots and draws great nourishment. From this mud made of water and earth, growth happens and a beauty is revealed. Your soul lotus thrives through depth of emotion and the aliveness of your body, into which she can plant herself and unfold as a lotus of light. I'm going to ad-lib here and say, think of that as the marrow of your bones that we've just talked about, which is the mold. We got to get rid of the mold. We got to fertilize that marrow in order for this soul lotus to be healthy and blossom. And my sort of answer to that was, awakening is uncomfortable at times, and yet we need to allow the processing of our past experiences become a means in which we, the capital We, W-E, break through all of the emotional abuse we have endured and allow it to be released. And perhaps we just begin with perception. Change our perception of what's going on and come to a realization that we have the power and the ability to do something about it. I'm a minute over. Energy Speaks is a book by Lee Harris. It's his latest book. It just came out. I haven't read the whole thing. I'm hard with reading books, but I just randomly opened it this morning just before I came on. I says, give me a message. And the message was, the heading of the thing is Transmuting Fear. And I'll just read this and say goodbye. Yes, at some point you will choose to let go of certain aspects of your life. Relationships, career paths, creative projects, spiritual pursuits that you are currently following. You have probably already let go of many times in your life. You haven't already done so. If you haven't already done so, make your peace with letting go in order to gain. Even though fear of letting go is one of the great spiritual battles for those who want to change or to create something new, it can be transmuted. You can pull the anchors of the past and be free to sail on. The eye of awareness will help you identify and let go of your anchors, as many as you wish. The illumination of the eye allows old energies to dissolve far faster than if they are not present in your consciousness. Become consciously aware, allow these issues to come up. Know that you're not stuck. This is not, doesn't have to be repeatable, doesn't have to be something where you're stuck. Know that this is the opportunity in the time where we unstick. This is the awakening. And with that, I feel I'm complete. So I want to thank you. I thank you. I love you. I respect you. I am you. You are me. And we are unity. May you receive my breath of life, that it enhances your breath of life. And know that I'm always here. I'm available. I'm going to start doing Zoom calls for people and deepen my relationship with how I can enlighten people. So stay tuned and be aware that you are the light of the world. And we need your light now. Thank you. Have a great week. Good to be here with you all, knowing that you exist and that I exist in you somewhere else around the world. May your week be gracious and filled with laughter. Bye-bye.